Hi there, I'm Camille.
And I'm Gretchen. I came back.
Welcome back to Starting Over. We are talking about staying too long and not starting over today.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Y'all, and this doesn't have to just be relationships. This
It's
could be
anything.
like staying too long at the restaurant or staying too long with the in-laws.
Staying too long in a cycle that you need to be starting over in, right? Like, just when you're staying too long anywhere, in a job you hate, in a
That's
relationship
true.
you're not happy in.
What are some of the signs, Camille?
Well, if you're in an unhealthy relationship, there's usually something that goes kaboom. I mean, I'm dealing with 3 people right now that have stayed too long in a difficult relationship, and what starts eroding is your self-esteem. And so if you're with someone that's just not who you're meant to be with, you're living a lie, you're pretending you're happy, you're saying yes when you really want to say no, and your body can't lie. So when you start getting anxiety or panic attacks, or your body's trying to tell you something, it's kind of like a warning system going off. You've
I
seen
think that's so true. Or you get sick.
You get disease.
You
That's
get
right.
sick. And, the reasons why people stay, that's what we really want to get to.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that people are staying, which is that.
Sometimes you have to.
That's like.
We get that.
But what's the symptom of it? And why do we allow ourselves to stay in a situation that's not healthy?
Yeah.
And again, your forte is with people in relationships, but this could, we want y'all to think about, okay, could this apply to my career? Could this apply to,
Anywhere.
Maybe family members that are not in a good, healthy space for you? Maybe it's time to say goodbye to some of that. So when people, I know that you, you were talking to me earlier. I don't know what's up with my voice, so sorry. But when people, keep going back for the relationship, almost like they feel obligated to stay because maybe that's their project.
Yeah.
Or maybe they feel like they can be of help. Or maybe they feel
I've
like
been
they
here
just
6 years. I don't want to. I've got an investment. No,
well,
I've heard it all.
I don't deserve somebody that treats me nice. So I guess this is what I get.
Right.
What?
And or my family, we never changed. We never got divorced. We never left. I got to stay in the family business because I got to be a farmer. I got to do what my parents tell me to.
How many
All
of
that.
you are in that situation where you are really in a career you didn't choose?
Right.
And maybe it's not, it's not your happiness. I say this because there was a guy that I dated when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
He was from Mississippi. His dad was the town doc, so he it was the only doctor in town, a small town in Mississippi. And this guy that I knew, his last semester of med school, all he wanted to do was be a race car driver.
Oh wow.
And he quit med school his last semester.
Yeah.
And went and did his dream. And of course, the family was like, what?
Yeah.
What? You were going to take over the practice and
Yeah.
all of the patients?
Yeah.
And that makes no sense. But you know what? He honored what he really wanted to do.
He did. And he chased his own path. And isn't that the deciding moment when you can't sell out? You can't just live for another person. You've got to live for you. Yeah. No matter what, you got to put that oxygen mask on yourself first, right?
You really do.
Yeah. And this is what we're talking about if you say this is your starting over moment for yourself, that's what you have to choose. And you want to choose that life, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. It's not being chosen for you because it's not worth living.
And even when you're maybe you get to a stage, you've had a gutful and you're ready to leave, you still need to give yourself permission to be happy.
Yeah.
Like you can't beat yourself up for feeling guilty, like I shouldn't have done this.
No.
Because the storm will calm. But as you've seen over and over again with relationship cycles, everything can look great for a little bit.
Yeah.
But what's the bottom message here? How can you live with a behavior that's not good for you?
Right. And can you live for another person's happiness and well-being? Because the parents think that, or my grandparents, I can't let them down. All these obligatory jobs or roles that we carry on, look, at some point it's just going to be so unbearable for you. And so you can't live a lie. That's just where you're at. Your body will not let you live a lie. At some point it's going to go through whatever it's going to go through.
And I think we need to even bring up religion.
Oh, yeah.
That's
a huge one, honey.
I was raised a certain way and went a different way, and I still am paying for a decision that was made 30
to not follow
30
their
some years
lead.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
even though I'm not even in that religious choice anymore,
Yeah.
I still pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, and but at the time, you know, in my 20s when I made a choice to go to a different religion than how I was raised, I did it because that's what I knew was best for me.
Yes.
And you know, sometimes you got to leave in a situation that just because you were raised a certain way,
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's the right way, or it doesn't mean it's the right way for you.
Yeah.
You know.
But be that parent in your mind for a second, you know, and this is usually parents that we're talking about. We want to make sure we don't disappoint them and let them down. What's going on in your head if your kid's not doing it your way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that? I don't know that I could do that. I that was done to me too, right? And I don't want to live for anybody else's happiness. I'm living for them to look good, or I've got to pretend to be someone I'm not for them to feel comfortable.
Yeah. Because
I
how
don't
many
want
times
that.
do people feel like they have to live for the family name?
Yeah.
For the family reputation.
Yeah.
You know, just like you said, some of your clients like that, their families, they don't go through divorce, or
We're all farmers. We're all mortuary people.
or we don't go to counseling. No, we don't do that, you know.
That's right.
And so you really aren't allowing yourself to grow or get the help or even have an option.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's so many, I think older, you know, ancient times, there's a lot of stories about that. Forbidden love. You can't love that person. You've got to marry this person. They need to be a certain religion. They've got to have a certain amount of money, all that kind of stuff. But wasn't that Romeo and Juliet, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they both ended up dead, I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
So they decided to start over.
Don't do that history, but yeah, don't be a Capulet. And,
yeah. But isn't that what makes you feel alive? When you're actually living and choosing and flying without a net, if it's going to be, it's up to me, and I've got to do this. And so when you actually step out and you start living authentically according to what you feel, there's nothing better and more exhilarating than just realizing there is no net. If it's going to be, it literally is up to me.
And that's because you're being your authentic self and you're listening to your gut.
Yeah.
You know, the gut, when Camille and I speak of the gut, that is your guidance. You can call it whatever you want to. Holy Spirit, we don't care what you call it.
Natural knowing, yeah.
But that is your guidance. And one of the things that Camille has helped me really realize is there's nothing wrong going on. It's all for your better.
That's right.
So even when things seem, they seem like it's at its worst, it's really all for your better.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you've gone through a divorce or you've gone through, you know, I've never lost a child, so I can't sit and say that's for your better. I'm certainly not trying to say that. But I know that times in my life, even cancer was like, you know what? I learned so much.
Yeah.
And I ended up on the better end. So it's an easier outlook for me than some that haven't had that same success that I've had. But
that's right.
The principles of learning and kind of coming face to face, like face to face with what are your choices, who are you, and what do you want? Doesn't matter the subject.
Right.
It's still your own therapy.
You know, I've got a young client of mine. He's probably early 20s, already graduated college. He's a physicist, super, super smart guy. Mom's a doctor, dad's a fighter pilot. And he has put himself in another country. It's called Guinea. And he's a teacher out there. And this is, like, for real, he's so terrified he's going to get locked in and be obligated to some job that he's got 9 to 5. He doesn't want to lose that spark of life, that sense of freedom. So he's out there teaching English and figuring out what he wants to do because he doesn't want to be a physicist now, but he's got a degree in physics. But he realizes that he's going to be writing a lot of, grants and stuff. So he's trying to sort out how he doesn't sell out. And this is so critical. I think that era, that age group, by the way, they really are cut differently. Like when we're growing up, we have to. Like there's just not a lot of options. I had to be a farm girl. I had to work on the farm. You had to help your parents. That's just what we did. Doesn't mean I have to stay there and do it. And I got out. I moved out, and it was like, oh, is she going to make it? I mean, there was never,
right.
What are you going to do? But I'm watching this young man sort out his future where he's not, and he can stay authentic. And that is, I think, a movement happening with a lot of these young kids. Have you noticed that too?
I think it's, I just had a conversation with one of my kids today about this kid doesn't know, like, what is the purpose? What is my purpose? This is what they're saying. And I tried to share, like, I'm at my age, I'm still figuring it out because we
don't always know it all.
It's ebb and flow of, and you go through phases that maybe maybe this made sense to you at this time, but now you've expanded, you've grown in your talents and maybe something else. I remember my dad saying to me one time, I just don't understand your business. And the answer really was, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn. He was referring to the television business
Sure.
and editing and production and whatever.
How do you make money
I
at
just
that?
don't get your business, you know. And it was like,
Yeah.
well, I don't really understand a neuroscientist either, but
Yeah.
I don't have to, you know. You don't have to understand my business
No.
for me to still be able to do what I want to do.
That's right.
And you know,
And that would have been what you wanted to kind of hear is, I don't understand your business, but I want you to feel happy and self-expressed, that you're fulfilled. That's the whole goal, is how do you live a fulfilled life?
so when you have people that they're staying too long,
Yeah.
what are some of the steps that you take to help them?
Well, I'll, when they come in, I sit them down. I say, okay, what do you want? They're like, I don't know. I never thought about anything other than this. I've always thought I was going to take over the family business, whatever. And I ask them that, okay, what do you want? And then what do you want? And then what do you want? I ask it maybe 50 times, and I want an answer every time I ask it. This might take an hour and a half, because I'm asking them to start looking. Well, what do you really want?
Start talking to yourself.
Generate, yeah. And that does spark. You know, when they got freedom, you can want anything. Wow, what do I want? There's also something I listened to a while ago, and if you want to manifest something, like, say you want to make millions of dollars, okay, well, how would you make millions of dollars? How do you make $100,000? Give me a list of 20 things, literally 20 things that you would do to make $100,000 or whatever, and chances are more likely that you will make that money than not, because you're generating a solution to that problem. So again, what do you want? I want to make money. Okay, great. Give me 20 reasons or 20 ways you would do that. Literally, it's just ask that question. You can ask that of yourself.
Yeah.
What do I want?
It's like we were talking about last week. You go to a restaurant, you get to choose off the menu what you want. And, you know, I know, like, during cancer, I spent so much time on Pinterest.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to focus on daydreaming. And I was even talking to my sweetheart who has cancer, and even when he is so sick and not feeling well, he still will go online and look up things that he enjoys.
That's good.
And you know, there's a healing. There's really healing when you take the focus off of something that's bad, and you redirect it to something that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Not, you know, what can I do for that person, but what do I want?
Right.
Camille just told me I had like snakes or something.
Oh,
so
I did not. I said
like,
straggly hair.
Straggly. So now I'm like, oh yeah, I got straggly.
I'm messing with her.
I know, but you know, I think if Walt Disney was the best at just saying, like, keep daydreaming, keep daydreaming. Daydreaming is manifesting with your eyes open, you know. And
that's right.
And when you get to a place like what you're talking about, Camille, when you get to a place that you can realize, wait a second, I can have, be, or do anything I want.
Yeah.
It's up to me.
Yeah. And you engage that imagination again, right? And there's a curiosity. Well, how would I go about doing it? If there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. But when people are locked in and they stay too long and, I'm too old for that. I'm too old to get divorced. I can't, I'm too fat for this. I'm like, you give yourself an excuse, and maybe you're really not. And look, when things happen, when Earth moves and things happen, like somebody passes away, an earthquake happens, a company goes out of business. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. It's terrible. My building's being sold. I got to move. Or it may be, again, helping you get out of that rut, helping you start over. Because in the starting over moments is really when genius happens, when creativity can really happen. That's when you're experiencing life newly again, and possibilities are abundant. But if you never have a moment to start over, you don't have to start over, you're just hum-de-dum, keep on going. Nothing changes. And without anything changes, nothing's going to change, right? So
that's what we talked about last week with autopilot.
Yeah. Right.
And so when you get to the place that you have aha moments, what that really means is you're in alignment with God.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, but you're in that alignment because you're both thinking from we as humans are now thinking from a spiritual, creative measure. And so when you have, it's like, I remember Abraham Hicks was talking about people that write music.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, or even books, it doesn't have to take them a long time when they're in alignment.
Yeah.
the energy and the juices and everything just starts flowing, flowing, And so Dr. Wayne Dyer talked all the time about how many books he had written, but he didn't talk about it in a way like, look what I've done. He talked about it in a way like, this is what you can do.
Yeah.
When you focus, when you focus. And so when you've had a gutful and you feel like I can't do this anymore, I think one of the best advice that you give to people is set it free.
Yeah.
Set that person, set that job, set that relationship. Like don't try to hold on to the negativity of it. Like you've been spoken to.
Yeah.
Now move.
Yeah.
Make a move.
And the action item to do is tell the truth. When you've had enough in your life, but other people don't know that you've had enough, you got to declare that I'm ready, I'm done, I've had enough, I'm moving on. That is, the truth sets us free. And so that's exactly right. You've got to be set free from the rut you've been in and be willing to be authentic and truthful, and then expect their truth back. It's okay. Just start communicating the truth. Quit living the lie.
I remember when I was married, I was afraid to ask God if I could get a divorce. I was afraid that I would disappoint him or that the answer would be no. And it took me years until finally I was vacuuming the stairs. The vacuum was on, and for some reason I just said, I just want to know if I have permission to do this. I could hear audibly over the vacuum, it's time. So, you've got to be in a place that you have your own courage.
That's right.
That, and I'm not suggesting you have to get that permission. I don't know that was the right way to do it.
It was what you had to do.
But that's
you were
where
so
I
dutiful.
was at the time.
Yeah.
But now my relationship with God is different, that I don't feel like he would keep me in a situation that wasn't of happiness.
Right. Yeah, you have
He's
to stay
not
out of
keeping
religion.
us of anything, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I just, when you've really, not because you want to leave somebody because they're not changing, when you really don't feel like you've grown, you've found happiness in you. If you're constantly around something or someone that's pulling you back, you're not living in freedom.
Right. And why do that to yourself anymore?
Who are you the hero for?
Right.
Because the person or the job or whatever it is that is holding you there, they don't care.
No.
Your happiness is not important.
Yeah.
Your freedom is not important. So,
yeah.
Of people, I know you do with your business, but people that they basically start over at a later time in life, and they don't have the 401, and they don't have this, and they don't have that because they're starting over, but they're like,
I got
so
freedom.
Happy.
Yeah, I'm free. That's right.
And
it doesn't sometimes happen like that. It's not like a avalanche hit, but if you start telling the truth and just start expressing your authentic voice, there's going to be movement. You're going to see movement happening in your life. Just don't lie to yourself anymore.
Yeah.
Start with that,
You remember, y'all, if you've watched our podcast before, Camille and I have spoken about the sacred circle, which is a circle that you get to place around you, and you get to decide who comes in, what comes in, and what leaves. And it's basically your own space of worth. And so, it's not a matter of somebody else giving you permission.
Right.
It's you giving yourself permission to either allow or not.
And you are sovereign and you are free.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose to start over anytime.
We hope that this has made a little impact or a difference. If you would like to get a hold of us, you can contact us from startingovercommunications.com. Just leave us a message there. We'd love to work with you. But if not, that's okay. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.